Constantly, as the years roll on, there are plenty of players who look like they're finally done. Even the most dominant have an expiration date. But there is nothing better than watching a player who's been struggling for a year or two suddenly rise from the ashes like a phoenix and show the world that they're not done. People are suckers for a good comeback story, and the NFL universe is no exception. Fans go absolutely crazy when they see a former NFL star who had hit rock bottom bounce back. This is the case whether the player struggles due to an injury, some off-the-field controversy, self-inflicted or otherwise, or even a guy who's getting up there in years and goes off after a couple of down seasons. Nothing like the American tradition of building up stars so we can tear them down, and applaud if they rise from the ashes. So let's take a look at 10 NFL stars who bounced back strong after the fans wrote them off. First up, an NFL Hall of Famer who had been written off not once, not twice, but 3 times on his journey to Canton. Former Denver Broncos and Indianapolis Colts quarterback Peyton Manning. It didn't take long for Peyton to come head-on with doubters. During Peyton's rookie season in 1999, he joined a Colts team that was abysmal, having gone 3-13 the previous year, and unsurprisingly, he and the team struggled throughout his first year. The then 22-year-old was in many ways thrown into the fire that season, attempting at nearly 600 passes, a huge number for the era, and the results were not great. Manning tossed 28 picks, and Indianapolis posted another 3-win season. Some of the more optimistic Colts fans at the time believed in Manning, as there were some bright spots that year, including the rookie records he set for passing yards with 3,739 and touchdowns with 26. But there was certainly a constituency of fans that thought Manning was about to be a bust. Yet, Peyton was quick to prove his doubters wrong and took a huge step forward the following season, upping his completion percentage by 5.4%, not to mention maintaining his impressive touchdown total, while nearly slicing his interceptions in half. As a team, the Colts improved drastically, finishing the year 13-3 with the 3rd-ranked offense league-wide. And from that point on, Peyton Manning became, well, Peyton Manning, as he continued to have one of the most prolific careers that the NFL has ever seen. 5-time MVP, 14-time Pro Bowler, 7 All-Pros. Manning's list of accolades is almost as long as his forehead. But that doesn't mean that he was free from doubters, particularly towards the end of his career. After the 2010 season, it was reported that he was going to miss the entire 2011 campaign to get an extremely risky surgery on his neck, his 3rd one in 19 months. Even the Colts, a team that he took from being utterly forgettable to Super Bowl champions, doubted him to some degree, cutting him rather than paying a massive $28 million bonus ahead of a season he wouldn't play. Fortunately, the Broncos were wise enough to take a chance on the future Hall of Famer, and he rewarded the franchise handsomely by putting together a phenomenal twilight to his career in the Mile High City, leading the team to a 45-12 record in his starts, winning another MVP, and taking 2 trips to the Super Bowl, winning one of them. But even amid all that success, fans found one last chance to doubt Manning. And that was during his final season, when it became abundantly clear that his body was finally failing him completely. And while it is true that Manning did struggle mightily that year, putting up the worst stats of his career, he pulled it together when he needed to, and did just enough to help the Broncos and their beastly defense get over the hump and win a Lombardi Trophy. Manning isn't the only all-time great quarterback to be written off prematurely. How about Tom Brady, who is somehow still playing at an elite level in the NFL in 2021, despite having been written off, like 8 years ago? As a gentle reminder for folks, the instance in question came after New England was throttled by Kansas City on Monday Night Football back in 2014. During that matchup, Brady threw for just 159 yards, surrendered 2 interceptions, and added another 2 fumbles. It got so ugly that Bill Belichick benched Brady in the 4th quarter and put in Jimmy Garoppolo, sending the media into a tizzy. As many figured, Brady's best days were now behind him. All sorts of experts were eager to get their takes off. Pro Football Focus declared, "We've seen the best of Brady, and the only question remaining is how steep the drop-off will be." Donovan McNabb hypothesized that Jimmy Garoppolo NFL might be more effective and that Brady might have played his final year in New England. However, in the 8 years since, Brady has put together a stretch of play that honestly would have been good enough to land him in Canton, even if he hadn't played 14 Hall of Fame caliber years beforehand. Not only did he rally the troops in 2014 to finish the season 12-4 and win the Super Bowl after that sketchy 2-2 start, but he went on to earn 6 trips to the Pro Bowl over the next 8 seasons. And more importantly, he won 3 more rings in addition to that 2014 ring. The man is simply preposterous. And what makes it even crazier is that in 2021, at the age of 44, he completed 67.5% of his passes for a league best 5,316 yards and 42 touchdowns, leading his team, the Buccaneers, to a 13-4 record. His second act, if you will, has unquestionably cemented his legacy and status as the greatest quarterback in the history of the NFL. Not bad for a guy that Skip Bayless declared unable to get the ball in the end zone. And along the way, Brady has played an integral part in reviving the careers of other stars, namely Rob Gronkowski and Randy Moss. Both of these freakish pass catchers were declared finished until uniting, and in Gronk's case, reuniting, with Brady. Starting with Gronk, the future Hall of Fame tight end got off to one of the most prolific starts to a career that the NFL has ever seen. He recorded 5 double-digit touchdown seasons in his first 6 years in the league. And the only year he missed that mark was 2013, when he missed over half the season due to injury. But as his career continued, injuries began to take more and more of a toll on the British tight end, who, in addition to being an elite pass catcher, was a key contributor as a blocker. He missed a considerable amount of time between 2016 and 2018, and eventually the stress of constantly recovering and returning from injuries proved to be just too much, and he ultimately retired ahead of the 2019 season. But come 2020, Brady set sail for Tampa and made coercing Gronk out of retirement his top priority. And while it took him a few games to play himself into shape, there is no denying that he is still one of the most complete tight ends in the league. Brady regularly targets him in high-pressure situations. Oh, and the duo won a ring in their first season together in Tampa. Safe to say, yeah, he bounced back pretty well, considering fans thought he was done after he sat out for a full season. Moss, on the other hand, was wasting away in Oakland, to the point that fans thought his retirement was imminent. He looked disinterested on the field, and his production was a fraction of what it was during his time in Minnesota. But once he linked up with Brady in New England, he looked reborn. And in 2007, during New England's near-perfect season, he put together one of the best statistical performances for a wide receiver of all time. He caught 98 passes for 1,493 yards and a league-best 23 touchdowns. And while he never won a ring during that twilight phase of his career, there's no denying that he was a bona fide star still. 3 consecutive 1,000-plus yard double-digit touchdown seasons, including 2008 when he was catching passes from Matt Castle because Brady missed the entire season after tearing his ACL. Interestingly, Moss's resurgence was reminiscent of a former All-Pro defensive back that fans thought was done, Richard Sherman. After he left Seattle in 2017, having only played 9 games that season and looking, well, rather old and disinterested for lack of a better term, he bounced back in a big way with San Francisco, helping the Niners to reshape the culture in 2018 and come within one Jimmy G overthrow of winning the Super Bowl the following season. Not to mention Sherman earning his 5th Pro Bowl selection as a Niner. Pretty good, considering how ready people were to declare his best days behind him in 2017. How about another quarterback who's still out on the NFL field balling out? Ryan Tannehill. Tannehill went from being the young QB in Miami who everyone seemed to have blind faith in taking the next step to being written off entirely. So much so that when he was dealt to Tennessee ahead of the 2019 season, he and a Dolphins 6th rounder only netted Miami a 7th and 4th round pick from Tennessee, which, considering the market for quarterbacks in the NFL, is rather insulting. Tennessee was in many ways taking a flyer on Tannehill too. I mean, they didn't even name him the starter until week 7, but boy, did he prove the doubters wrong. The Titans quarterback won 3 of his first 4 starts and went on to earn Pro Bowl honors, despite only starting 10 games that year. While his numbers have regressed slightly in the time since, he has proven to be a legitimate starter in the league, and has kept the Titans in Super Bowl contention every year since. Equally as impressive, albeit for different reasons, was Alex Smith's 3-part resurgence. First, he went from being a disgraced #1 overall pick, who fans thought would be out of the league entirely, to becoming a competent starter for a Super Bowl contending team in San Fran. Then he was cast off after being usurped by Colin Kaepernick and rallied to earn 3 Pro Bowl selections with Andy Reid in Kansas City, presiding over an overwhelmingly successful stretch of Chiefs football. And lastly, for his final act, he returned to the gridiron in 2020 for Washington after missing nearly 2 years due to one of the most gruesome leg injuries the league had ever seen. Kinda like what we saw happen with Carson Palmer, another former #1 overall pick who, after falling victim to a couple of brutal injuries of his own, looked to be a shell of himself, particularly during the 2 seasons he played for the Raiders. But Bruce Arians and the Arizona Cardinals rolled the dice on Palmer, and he delivered right away, helping the Cards to a 10-6 record in his first season there, notching 4,272 passing yards and 24 touchdowns. He had the Cards rolling in 2014 too, as they got off to a 6-0 start before Palmer tore his ACL, leading fans to believe yet again that the aging quarterback might be done. And, well, all he did in 2015 was carry the Cardinals to a 13-3 record and an NFC title game appearance. Perhaps he took some notes watching Kurt Warner, who in many ways set the standard for QB comebacks, and, like Palmer, had a nice second act in Arizona. Not only did Warner brave the career abyss that was NFL Europe to come back as a part of the greatest show on turf with the Rams in the late 90s, but he also proved that those very same Rams and the New York Giants, the second team, wrong as a member of the Cardinals, when he earned a trip to the Pro Bowl in 2008 and brought Arizona within striking distance of a Super Bowl victory against the Pittsburgh Steelers, certainly deserving of an entry on this list. Last but not least, we have to include Chad Pennington, who owns the unique distinction of being the only player to win Comeback Player of the Year twice. First, he won it in 2006 with the Jets, after missing most of the 2005 season because he had to get surgery on the rotator cuff in his right throwing shoulder. Then, again he won it in 2008 as a member of the Miami Dolphins, after the Jets unceremoniously shipped him out of town in favor of their big-time free agent acquisition, Brett Favre. In fairness to the Jets, Pennington looked bad during the 2007 season. He battled ankle issues and perhaps as a result threw a number of costly interceptions, leading to him being benched after a 1-7 start to the season. The Dolphins were one of the only 2 teams that were even interested in bringing Chad in the following season, and he rewarded them, earning the starting gig and helping the team to jump from 1-15 the previous year to 11-5. Not to mention finishing tied for second in the MVP voting. Say what you will about Pennington, he was plagued by injuries, lacked arm strength, all that is true. But boy, did he ever know how to bounce back. But which other NFL players bounced back after being written off? Join us in the comment section below. If you like this video and learned a thing or two, clicking the like button helps out a ton, and hey, we appreciate it. If this is your first time coming around to TPS though, subscribing is a great idea, because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.